Well, hello YouTube, it's me Fortmaster, and welcome to a new reaction, though on a very old topic. This is Amon, Fear and Hunger Theory by Shadow the Axolotl. This was suggested by Kemi on my Discord server, and if you remember, on my channel, one of the first reactions I did that actually got really popular was to a couple of videos about fear and hunger. Now, since then, I've kind of pivoted more towards, Deltarune content and other things, but I still periodically, go and look up, the world of fear and hunger, because while it's not a game that I personally would ever want to, actually play, again, from everything I've seen, I'm not a masochist. But the actual lore of the world and how the gods work and how magic works and all that still really does fascinate me. So I mean the chance that I can, look up more of this stuff and learn more about this really bizarre and admittedly really harsh world, I'm not gonna say no to it. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel, because my main goal for this year is to hopefully hit 5,000 subscribers, and at the current rate, that's totally doable. Thanks to everybody that, subscribes to my channel. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
When I first started playing Fear and Hunger, I began with Servina. I know it's strange to begin with the second game, but now looking back, I don't regret it. It provided me with a very unique experience and memorable moments. One of them, which I remember vividly, was upon reaching the Museum of Preheval and solving the clock puzzle. The museum itself wasn't getting enough with the masquerade party going on, and I remember wasting a lot of time in its endless halls that looped around themselves. But of all the things in that museum, the clock is what left me the strongest impression. I remember it had 10 sigils, 5 of which I recognized at the time as belonging to the gods Grogroth, Sylvan, Inushka, Rare, and Almer. I guess after solving the puzzle, I had learned that there's another sigil for a certain sulfur god as well.
Sulfur, yeah, I remember him.
And I thought that once I played Fear and Hunger 1, I would learn about them. And I did learn about that, but to my surprise, there was still 3 sigils missing. Many months passed since then, and I have learned quite the amount of things about this clock. I know it was inspired by the real astronomical clock, Horloge, from Prague, the capital city of Czechia, and the city that inspired Preheval. And, most importantly, I finally learned what gods all the missing sigils belong to.
Okay.
And today, we will talk about one of the missing gods of Fear and Hunger, a god that was hiding in plain sight, and we all failed to see. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Shadow the Axolotl, and today, in disguises no one knows, hides the face, lies the snake, and the sun in my disgrace. Today we unravel one of the most exciting secrets of Fear and Hunger, a video I've been promising you guys after the timeline series. So to start things properly, I want to open this video by reading a book called The Truth Under the Moonlight. We can find in the bookshelves of Preheval. Let's see what it says. Who of us doesn't cover the true face and hide behind a persona? In the broad daylight, we adopt a social role depending on the surrounding people. We put on a mask that works as the public image of our true personality. Do we hide our face to avoid judgment of the people? Or do we look down in shame as the sun watches our every move? A sun that knows our deepest longings and lustful thoughts. Only in the darkness of the night does the true and vile nature of man get revealed. We share our decrepit bodies only to the select few under the moonlight, despite what the lowly thieves covering the shadows would like you to think. The moonlight hides no one.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of the lore and stuff I remember hearing about in Termina. It's the moon god is what caused those cultists to go mad and nuts and stuff. But thinking about it, that whole thing was oh, you put on a mask. That reminds me of Cassio, what was it Cassiopeia said in Psychonauts 2, where she asked Raz and was asking him who's the true you? Is the true you the one you showed Is the true you the you that you are when you're around your family, when you're around your friends, or like when you're around like your, as she put it, your special someone? So I mean, the idea that, yeah, you're putting on a mask, but it's not so much you're hiding your true self. It's more like who, like, what is the true self, really? Because, like, who are you if you're just sitting in a room doing nothing? You're always putting on some form of mask whenever you're around somebody. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, thinking about one of the best examples of that would be, you know, your average YouTuber. I mean, like, not unless you're, like, recording somebody off the cuff and they don't know you're recording, like, almost every YouTuber puts on some sort of face. Like, I try not to do, like, hey, put on the YouTuber voice and say, like, hey, how are you doing? You know, that sort of stuff. And I try, and with this being, and with me doing, like, a lot of, like, gaming and reaction content, I like to think that a good portion of the reason that people come and watch me is for me, so I try not to put myself through too much of a filter. But, I mean, you're always putting yourself through some form of filter, even if it's subconsciously.
A son that knows our deepest longings. A son that watches our every move. A son... That is the topic of today's video. Before we continue though, there's something I need to address first. I'm not the first YouTuber to talk about the sun god. In fact, Mao the dog, Mao the dog, Mao the dog, Mao, has released a video on the subject more than a year ago. So, why am I making one myself? First off, let's give credit where credit is due. I want to congratulate Mao for bringing that topic to sunlight. In fact, the first time I heard there was a sun god was from a friend who told me about his video. So this is not an attack or an offense of any kind. It's simply that I disagree with some of the takes he had on the subject. I also have new findings that could enlighten us more on the topic.
Really?
For the specifics of what I disagree, you may watch his video for yourself after this, if you didn't already, of course, and you will know what I'm talking about. Again, I have nothing against Mao. The guy has a great channel, but I still felt like I needed to make my own version. With that out of the way, one question you might be asking yourself is there really a sun god? So before I can explain you what he is...
I mean, if there was a moon god, I mean, I'd be surprised if there wasn't a sun god.
First, let me prove you he exists.
Very much like the sun, the moon is one of the primordial entities, and thus it has long beliefs written since the dawn of time. This makes it difficult to separate facts from fiction, and mad ramblings from hidden truths. Distant details among the myriad of stories seem to hint of a god called Rare.
There it is. Very much like the sun,
God
the
called
moon
Rare
is one of the primordial entities. That was...
Oh no, yeah, Rare was the name of the moon god. Yeah, never mind.
Easy, huh? Don't worry, there's more coming. This quote is an excerpt taken from the Steam Bible of Rare, written by none other than Enki. If you're not aware, the Steam Bibles are a series of books Enki wrote when he inherited the Green Libraries of Mahabharata after his death's ending. I will assume that you know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, there is already a series on the channel where I go through the Fear and Hunger timeline and I explain everything you need to know for today's video.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
So if you get lost anytime, you might want to check it out. This might be the start of our own Steam Bible series, where much like Enki, we uncover the mysteries of the old gods and lay them bare for the whole world to see and feast upon. But this is my version, so welcome you all to the Steam Bible's New Testament, chapter of Amon, the sun god.
Ugh, what a name.
Where did the name Amon came from? From Osa's backstory, we learn about Amon, the city of the sun in the continent of Abyssinia. Amon, as you might already know, is the name of the Egyptian god of the sun. Well, not exactly.
Ra.
Amon, or Amon, is a deity that fused with the actual god of the sun, Ra, becoming Amun-Ra. There's no...
I like how the only change is, you know, the Ra puts on the hat. That's the only difference.
Point getting into details of Egyptian history and mythology right now, but feel free to search about it for yourself. Anyways, the parallels between the Egyptian sun god and Fear and Hunger's sun god are already drawn. And yeah, we don't know the true name of the sun god yet, but there's still something else even more interesting. We know
What?
his sigil. The Discord user Zeta Niloticus has data mined the game files and found the names for each of the sigils in the clock. Mario left them as comments in the code, and I mean, come on. They're basically begging to be found at this point.
I mean, yeah.
As you can see, they are in clockwise order, and the first sigil is named Amon. This data mine is honestly amazing. Not only gives us a name, but it also gives us the sigil of the sun god. Amon might not be the official name for the sun god, and Myra might decide to change the name in the future, but if anything, it's a good alias.
So why are those other ones secret? What are you hiding from us, Shadow?
So with the quote about the sun being one of the primordial entities, and the data mine, we have more than enough evidence to prove his existence. But there's still one piece of evidence left I wanted to show you. It also comes from data mining, but it's one that I did myself. It is a cut dialogue by Perkele, found in the files of Fear and Hunger 2. There's many different reasons to why something was left out of the game, and we shouldn't take cut content as canon. But for this one, if you're still in doubt about the existence of the sun god, this might be the last proof you needed.
Humans are such funny little creatures. Since the dawn of man, you've tried to please the sun god to keep you warm and give you good harvest. You worship destruction and creation in the delusion that you have any say in those matters.
There is more to that good dialogue, but it's not relevant right now. With this though, I think it's enough to prove the existence of the sun god. So let's move forward and discuss what exactly he is. If we gaze directly into the sun, our eyes will burn, but we can look at the shadow it casts, and that shadow is none other than the moon god, Rare. What do we know about Rare? Many things, in fact.
Actually, I mean, thinking about it, I mean, Amon, Rare is very close to Ra, it just adds 2 extra letters. Amun Rare instead of Amun Ra? Who knows?
He is a trickster god, a jealous god. He does not want to share godhood with mortals, and according to Enki,
Rhea is depicted as the god of the insane, those who succumb to madness. His blessing to men is his moonlight, which is said to uncover the truth under the human filth, truth that is often too much for a human mind to handle.
That blessing is the moon scourge. To understand what moon scourge is, first let's refer to what the psychoanalyst Carl Jung described as the persona. The persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society. Fittingly enough, a kind of mask, designed on one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and, on the other, to conceal the true nature of the individual. In other words, the persona is the fixed self-personality you create to fit in society, a mask to conceal your true nature. Rare's Moon Scourge strips away that mask and reveals what's underneath.
God, just so weird. Again, and you guys like, oh, reveals what's underneath. Yeah, so knockoff Xenobite, weird paper doll thing. I don't even know how to describe that one. Elephant man who was made out of woman, with weird parasitic penis as an elephant trunk, and guy whose head has turned into multiple guns or something. It's weird. Again, like say what you will about this game series. The art style is certainly something else.
If you know your stuff about Jung, you might also know this quote-unquote truth under the human filth is referring to the Jungian shadow. But let's leave psychoanalysis for later. Maybe we'll dive a little deeper into it in a future video about Rare. But for now, we have what we need for the sun god.
Because let's face it, you never felt quite right around those smiling brows, did you? You always felt like an outsider, like you were just
Oh, that's one way of making him sound.
repeating what life looked like in the sun.
Like using a mask, you hit the darkness,
But that fooled no one. Everyone's alright through it.
They knew your true alignment.
And your past. And you liked it like that. You liked feeling different.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all.
Rare's blessing is to lay bare one's shadow, no matter how twisted, and in return, Amon's blessing is to hide one's true self in a persona, no matter how unpleasant. As creation is opposing destruction, the sun's light casts a shadow that the moon watches over. Therefore exists a dichotomy, a balance between the gods of fear and hunger. With the skill Golden Gate, we are able to fast travel through the many realms of Rare. You may or may not know this, but there's a secret door that leads to this strange room, and after it we find the Room of Pocket Cat, with a star and a moon, as well as a bunch of child's toys. Yikes. Fun fact, when Dawn turns into Pocket Cat, that room changes as well. You may know already about.
Wait, who turns into Pocket Cat? What? Okay, I remember watching or reading something about, like, the weird attraction that Cat has to children. Not good. Not good in the slightest. No.
This room. But what I bet you didn't know about is there's another secret door. The way to open this door is insanity. First, it can only be accessed as Osa. You need to play the full text adventure of his intro. Then you need to search the office desk 11 times in a row. Yes.
Oh, that's what you meant by insanity. Yeah, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Okay.
And then you get the white key. With the white key, you need the Golden Gate skill. And to get that skill, you need 3 levels of affinity with Rare. Then, you reach the hallway, check a bunch of walls, until finally... a
Blinking
bright,
light
white,
accompanies you in the
eerie
lonely
room
alley.
with faces on the walls.
Oh.
One of them is switching. If we interact with it, we get the Joy Mask. A leathery mask from ancient times. It is trying to mimic human face with mixed results. The mask does bring joy to whoever who wears it. What you can do with the Joy Mask? Well, you can give it to the NPC in the other room. And what does happen then? Apparently nothing. But I say that the mask and the white room are clearly related to the sun god. You remember the masquerade party going on in the museum?
Yeah?
I
Can you
also
put on
think
mask
it's a
there?
celebration of the sun god, where no one shows their true selves, and instead enact pre-established roles. So Amon can be understood as the god of order. He enforces social norms and roles. But there's more to him than just that. He's also the god of light and enlightenment. But
Yeah,
to
that
explain why,
makes sense as he's the literal sun.
let us have the Book of Enlightenment tell us. The book radiates light in every color of the spectrum. You feel like your journey has just begun, as if your existence since this very moment has been like watching someone else entirely. You feel a perspective shift in your surroundings, as if everything was to shrink, or perhaps you were to ascend higher. You gain a better understanding of yourself. The link between your mind and body has started its deterioration. You feel closer to alignment. The book has 2 pages. One depicts a godlike being with open hands, making a triangle with an eye in its center. This symbolizes the third eye, and it's a symbol associated with mystical insight and, you've guessed it, alignment. This, I think, is the closest we have to a depiction of the sun god, at least for now.
Man, it's weird. Like that, like maybe it's just these weird things on the body, quote unquote. But like they almost like on the one hand, I can almost look at them and see like they're the eyes and like that you see in like peacock tails. On the other, they almost look like tentacles. It's almost like Cthulhu-esque, where like it's almost like head and then like the beard of tentacles.
The second page has imagery of what the text described as the link between your mind and body has started its deterioration. And what's most important, a bunch of weird symbols or letters aligned. These symbols matter. They appear elsewhere. And this is what will give us the connection between enlightenment and the sun god. There is a secret boss in Termina that challenges you to a 1v1 fight if you summon her. And it's probably the hardest fight in all the game.
Oh, the heartless
To
one.
summon her, you need to complete the following steps. Navigate through the sewers, and solve the dream puzzle in order to reach the foundations of the cave, where you fight Moonless. Defeat Moonless and activate the elevator to reach the basement of Church of Almer. It's important that you do that before dropping the chandelier, or you won't be able to complete the next step. Get the item Rusty Key in one of the cells and draw a rare sigil right here to access this person covered in chains. Using the Rusty Key will free that person and give you the heart-shaped lock. Offer the lock to an imperfect ritual circle, and you will summon the new god known as the Heartless One, who will challenge you to a duel. I still think it's not as crazy as getting the Joy Mask though. It's important to mention that the Heartless One will probably have a small retcon in the future update, so depending on when you're watching this, some things might have changed. Still, what matters is that her attacks, Pillar of Light and Curse of Light, display the same icons shown in the second page of the Book of Enlightenment.
Interesting.
Pay close attention to her head. You see it? It is a sun crown. If, for some reason, that's still not enough to convince you that the sun god is the god of enlightenment as well, I want to show you this. You can get a book of enlightenment for free in this room showing on the screen right now. It's right before murals depicting Mahabharata. Next time you play Fear and Hunger 1, I want you to do this for me. Pay close attention to how many times the words sun and Mahabharata are said in the same context. Mahabharata and the sun god are deeply tied to each other, and there's something very special about those carvings in front of the book. I'll come back to it later on.
What do you mean?
The Book of Enlightenment has double meanings. It's not just a book that gives you enlightenment. You and your character are also enlightened about the enlightenment god. And it's no surprise that the sun god, Amon, is the god of enlightenment. After all, he is a sun that knows our deepest longings, a sun that watches our every move. So the puzzle pieces are almost all into place. We have uncovered and displayed the biggest secret of all of Fear and Hunger. You can click off the video now and brag to your friends about it. Unless I told you, there is
What's
still
the
more
third
to
thing?
the sun god. And the truth path to enlightenment starts now. What if I told you the true king of Mahabharata and the sun god are one and the same? If you don't know about it, when the old gods left the world, they nominated a king to rule Mahabharata and mankind. The identity of this true king is shrouded in mystery and legends. Until today, that is.
Of
He
course.
is Amon. And to understand how so, let's return to the Heartless One. In one hand, the Heartless One holds the unnamed light spear that connects her to the sun god.
Yeah.
With her other hand, she holds Red Virtue, the strongest weapon in Fear and Hunger. What is so interesting about Red Virtue is that according to the item's description, a masterfully forged light sword. The sword is very light, and so excels in finesse. It is said that the Red Virtue is one of the 2 swords forged for the ancient king of Mahabharata. Another fun fact, the other sword made for the king is the Blue Sin we find in Fear and Hunger 1. If the name Red Virtue and Blue Sin doesn't make it obvious enough, the only way to get Blue Sin is traveling to Mahabharata. But of course, the king's sword and the god spear draws the connection. But it doesn't mean that the sun god and the true king are the same thing, right? Well, in ancient times, the old gods created the figurines to work in the city of the gods. That city, as you may know, is Mahabharata. Many different figurines were given different jobs, such as being traders, builders, and even guardians. But why, I ask, why would the all-powerful old gods need beings to defend their city? I'd say it was not to protect their city, but to guard the Throne of Ascension. As Traces of Grogoroth tells us, the gods have created the Throne of Ascension, giving mortals the option to achieve greater heights. But to test the worthiness of said mortals, the old gods prepared a series of challenges, including defeating a guardian figurine protecting the gates of the Temple of the True King, where their throne lies.
Geez, that figurine has seen better days. It only has one hand and no legs. Ah, God, honestly, like, it's one of those things, like, while Fear and Hunger is one of those universes that I'd never want to live in, not even in a million years, not if you paid me all the money in the universe. But it's like, it's one of those, it's like on the same scale as like 40k, as like Warhammer 40k. Because like, you have this universe that like, is just so hostile towards human life. Like, in Fear and Hunger here, there are like no gods that are on human side, really. Like, if you look at all the old gods, or the ascended gods as well, like even like the Christ allegory, you know, Almer, to become like an ascended god, he had to disregard and like remove his human half, which then became sulfur, which at that point you have to wonder, is Almer even considered human anymore? And can you even classify him as, you know, still like thinking the same way as humans and wanting their best interests? And then, like, you have all the reasons why all the other old gods left was because they just got bored of humanity and left. So, God. Gods, in this case. It's horrible.
One of such guardians is known simply as the Old Guardian. He awaits patiently for the return of his king, the king of the city, the true king of Mahabharata. What the hell am I looking at? Like, what even is this map, man? Oh, hey.
Hear me. I am what they call the Guardian. I was created to defend the city with my life. I am to look after the city until the king returns to this land.
How long has he been gone?
I do not know. He was talked among the elder figurines eons ago.
What do you protect here?
I protect the passage of the kings that lies behind the gates of the eternity.
Fancy names for old derelict city walls.
I like that.
But after years of waiting, he's starting to lose hope. The name True King implies that there were other kings, not necessarily false ones, but substitute kings who inherited the title and position from the one true king. The likely candidates for these kings are the Chromatic Blights. We know that a species known as the Lizardmen roamed the world as the dominant life form, and much like the humans, they wanted to achieve greater heights. The Throne of Ascension was built for them. The old gods wanted to reward worthy Lizardmen by letting them live alongside the gods in the void. We have evidence for that, of course. Behind the Throne of Ascension, there is an arch-like hole with draconic decorations covering it. It's unlikely that the new gods that came after the Lizardmen changed such an ancient structure, and it was most likely something built by the old gods themselves.
God, that's one of those other things that I forget. It's the fact that, the Throne of Ascension, which is used to make the new gods, wasn't even designed for humans in the first place. And it has to say something that, like, the lizard men, who were seemingly favored by the old gods, were the ones that were given the opportunity to, freely join the old gods and stuff like that. But yet, like, the old gods just dislike humanity just entirely. Again, like, there's a hostile universe.
But there's something that the new gods have desecrated when they inherited Mahabharata. The carvings of the walls of Mahabharata depict people joined under the sun. We have that confirmation by Donovan Hugo in a paper left in his room close to a recreation of the walls. Do you notice the sun disk at the center? But these people are humans. The new gods, in fact. Tracing back as far as 20,000 before Almer, we have stone slabs depicting the 9 chromatic blights. I'll show them side to side for comparison, and I want you to notice the strange way the new gods are hanging their arms, as if they were mimicking the wings of the dragons.
Yeah, so it's quite literally, like, what if, it's basically like that whole thing of, like, oh, what if they basically just carved their faces over the old ones?
This to me is proof that when Grogorov stated that the old gods gave mankind the option, it's not a false statement, but it's inaccurate. After all, humans can ascend with the throne,
Given
but it was intended
mortals.
for mortals in general. And the lizard men, especially the chromatic blights, might have been the ones to join together under the sun. The term chromatic blights is interesting as well, as it could be a reference to the colors of the visible light spectrum: purple, blue, cyan, green, yellow, orange, and red, and the 2 remaining colors being possibly infrared and ultraviolet, or maybe black and white, although these 2 are technically considered shades and not colors. This could be also an explanation to what the hell is that dead dragon in Fear and Hunger 1. I don't see many people talking about it, but like, what the hell is this thing? Like, it's just there. It's a dead dragon. And there's no explanation for it. It's just there since Fear and Hunger 1. Hello?
And it's a lot different than the other dragon you see that's basically just a giant axolotl, or was it the salmon dragon or whatever it was called?
Why no one mentions this? Anyway, how all of this connects to the sun god with the true king? I have omitted a crucial piece of evidence, and I shall reveal it now. Remember the old garden figurine? Here is what he has to say to us.
Yes, the king will return one day. He is the one who created this city.
The king of Mahabharata couldn't possibly be human. Yes, his sword is human-sized, but it doesn't mean the sun god of all people couldn't change his appearance to fit a role designed for him. A human could not create artificial life like the figurines, much less the Throne of Ascension that connects the mortal realm with the void. And as the final piece of this puzzle, if we gather all the scattered notes in the house of Donovan Hugo that he wrote after going crazy when he read the passages of Mahabharata from the first game, he will tell us all of what I just said, straight to our faces.
In my dreams, I've seen the towers, the whole husks of the endless city, those who patiently wait for the king to return. The king? The book is the key. I've seen the macabre murals of the ancient city. I've lost myself in the endless maze of its lone alleyways. The sun, the replica, is near perfect. The carvings depict people joined together under the sun. No, it's still not the same. Something's wrong with the carvings. I need to get all the details.
All the details.
It is not the domain of the new gods. It is not the domain of humans. At least it didn't used to be. The sulfur sun appears in the text frequently, but I do not think that's the sun referred in the carvings. A sun that blazes from underground doesn't match with the passages.
Sulfur, yeah.
The city haunts my waking hours, relentlessly, endlessly. After a long night, the dawn finally arrives, inviting us to the promised land. Return of the sun, return of the king.
The sun god is the true king of Mahabharata.
Interesting. Interesting.
Before the old gods left the world, they elected one of them to stay behind. The god of order, the god of enlightenment, the god of the sun. This god would become known as the true king of Mahabharata, and he would share his grace with worthy lizard men who would ascend with the throne to become legendary dragons, even if it was against the will of the jealous and selfish moon god.
Yep.
As the humans developed their own civilizations, they had no need for rules and structures of the old order. As such, the true king went dormant, and a cold sun loomed over the sky of Mahabharata. In time, the chromatic lights vanished, and eventually, humanity took over the city of the gods for themselves. The figurines of the ancient city still await the return of their king, in hopes that his arrival would bring back the golden age of his rule. Thus, they wait and wait. Through the long night, the king's subjects wait for the sunrise that will never come.
The king. He has not come. I don't think he's coming.
Before closing this video, I want to give a shout out to people from the official Thin Hunger Discord server who have been Amon historians way before me. This video couldn't be possible without their findings. Special thanks to Akira, who has developed the Sun God Manifesto. Quick introduction to the Sun God. This guide actually helped me a lot while writing the script, so I couldn't left it out of the video. We're not quite done with the Sun God yet. We will talk more about him in a future video where I plan to talk about the Lord of Almer and the Sulfur Sun. If you don't want to miss that, hit the subscribe button.
Oh, God, honestly, again, it's like, I want to learn more about this universe. Again, like, the fact that, like, it just seems like the entire universe is against humans. Like, the lizard men were the ones that were originally favored by the gods to ascend, and we just kind of stole their tech, their artifacts, or whatever. The gods left because we couldn't love them the same way, or, you know, at least one of them left because of that. Like, honestly, it's again, as I said, it's one of those universes that I would hate to live in just because of how much it seems to suck for everybody involved. But yeah, that's definitely going to be it for now. So, yeah, of course, as always, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.